Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are tonight on the globe, welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we are starting this show, we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem. I would ask everyone to please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it. America's finest right there.
America's finest, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. We want to thank these brethren for doing this for us. We want to thank all of our armed forces, men and women around the globe, and also our allies around the globe, wherever you might be at this time. God bless you, and may you all return homes to your families in safety after your tours of duty end. Thank you so much for your service, guys and gals. We appreciate it. Folks, we got a lot to get through, a lot to talk about tonight. The first thing I want to talk about tonight is what is going on in Hawaii. The first thing I want to do is play a segment for you about the Maui schools. Please listen to this. Please pass this whole program on to everybody that you know.
In West Maui were impacted by the fires. We want to send it over now to our Mahea Richardson. She was listening in to a press conference with the school superintendent. Mahea, what can you tell us?
Well, Ash, I can tell you that the school superintendent, Keith Hayashi, made an announcement early this morning at a BOE meeting. It was not on the agenda, but he specifically talked about 4 schools, as you mentioned, impacted by those fires in West Maui. And he said that those 4 schools contain 3,000 students and 300 faculty members and staff. So clearly a widespread impact. Now, we had an exclusive one-on-one interview with Mr. Hayashi after that meeting, and he said that the DOE is preparing for the possible loss of an elementary school, and that elementary school is King Kamehameha III Elementary, and that it appears to have sustained severe damage because of those wildfires. Now, we told the superintendent that that indeed is correct, because our very own Chelsea Davis from Maui is there, and she went on a tour yesterday of Lahaina and was walking and reporting in front of that school herself. King Kamehameha III Elementary, according to her report, was destroyed. You could see the blackened building. There really was nothing left. Truly a tragedy for that elementary school. Now, Mr. Hayashi also told us about 3 other elementary schools in the West Maui area that are also impacted, and that's Princess Nahi'ena Elementary, Lahaina Intermediate, and Lahaina Luna High. He said that the assessments, the official assessments of these 4 schools still has not been made, but is being done today. We told him that Chelsea Davis could not drive to those 3 other schools because the roads were blocked by debris. Now, he said that beyond the physical impact to the schools, he's really concerned about the students, their faculty, and their family members. He's concerned about their well-being, and that is his #1 priority. We also asked him about the emotional toll, and for him, it clearly struck him. Here's what he had to say in that interview. And I know, Superintendent, you really care about families. Why is this so difficult for you personally?
Sorry. Yes, question. You know, within our schools, all of us care so deeply about our students and our families, and the challenges that many families and students already face. You know, and the situation that they're in now, our hearts go out to all of them, and we want to really be sure that we can do what's right to support all of them. So I think that's really important. I think it's what is for me, we're really fortunate that there's been principals and conflict service superintendents and community and have been calling our office, as well as I touched with some of the principals there and contacting them, offering support, and it's in Hawaii. In Hawaii, that's this part of who we are, and supporting each other and supporting communities. Tell them that we're our DOE Ohana is here for them, and whatever they need, we'll do our best to help to support them. They haven't had opportunities to assess anything there either yet, so they're concerned about their schools, about their students and their families. I'm talking about the administrators of the school, but they themselves have experienced loss. So they're, trying to balance that personal loss with having to take care of everyone in their community. And it's a heavy burden for any one person to hold. So that's why I want them to know that we're all here to support them.
Now, back here live, clearly the deep personal impact is being felt by so many people. Now, Keith Hayashi said that his assistant superintendent, Randall Tanaka, who is in charge of facilities and operations, is with Governor Green right now doing a tour of these devastated areas, and that's where the official assessment will come in. Now, for all public schools on Maui, again, they are closed except for Hana until Friday. Ash, back to you.
Mahia, did the superintendent say, you mentioned that schools are closed until Friday, these students who are impacted because they no longer have a campus to go back to or maybe damaged, what will happen to them?
Well, that's a good question, and I asked that exact question, and at this point, it's clear that for 3,000 students of West Maui, they may not have a place to go to. And so at this point, that's why they need to do the official assessment of these 4 impacted schools to find out what the situation is, and then they can deal with it after that. But at this point, they still need to have that official assessment. Again, it's being done by Randall Tanaka, who is with Governor Green. Also, a couple of other schools that are impacted because of those wildfires on Maui, King Kekalike High in Pukalani, that was dealing with some minor wind damage because of those high winds on Maui. And the superintendent said that he was talking to the teachers there at that school, and they said that the school is just full of dust and soot because of the fires. And also, Maui High is being used as a shelter in Kahului. So it's really interesting to see the situation because the information is still coming in. I do have to say that the superintendent praised our Chelsea Davis for her excellent coverage and reporting. You know, she has been our eyes and ears on the ground before these official assessments, and he said that her reporting was excellent, but still the official assessment needs to come in. Also, we know that President Biden has made an emergency declaration. I also asked the superintendent, what does that mean for the schools in terms of damage and getting resources in the millions or perhaps even billions of dollars? And he said that remains to be seen. But clearly this disaster has impacted him, all levels of government, and many in the community.
Absolutely. Our Mahia Lani Richardson reporting for us this afternoon. Thank you, Mahia. And again, we want to remind you guys that there will be a press conference coming up at 3:30 this afternoon with the governor and Mayor Bisson on Maui. And hopefully we will learn more information about the schools at that time, but we're not sure what they're going to say. So please tune in. We will bring it to you live. Now, for more on that disaster declaration that Mahia just mentioned, here's President Biden.
Okay, I guess they're not going to play that after all, and that's fine. One other thing. In regards to finding individuals, we have more information about that. Again, at least 36 people have been killed because of this fire. We do not have a firm conviction as to what started it. People are talking about lightning, and yes, it could be. But right now, we don't actually have a firm hand on what started it. Okay? Laura Marie's in the chat. She says it's thought that the fire started by the wind blowing down power poles and power lines broke and started the fires. Wind fanned the flames. That's true as well. But there is talk about lightning having started. We don't know. Nobody does. So folks, let me let you watch this portion of this report. This is about 1 minute and 36 seconds long.
A disaster team from FEMA is expected to arrive sometime tonight to assist state and county officials.
Meantime, the Hawaii Red Cross is calling for hundreds of volunteers to help them in the recovery. Eddie Dowd has more.
The Hawaii Red Cross tells me they've been overwhelmed with calls this past week responding to incidents on 3 major islands. They say they need volunteers to help staff their shelters and help with their recovery efforts.
We are stretched thin.
This morning, staff could be seen loading up vans with cots to take to the Hawaii Convention Center. Officials say they've also been flooded with calls from people trying to reunite with loved ones.
I was getting text messages all night from our national call center. People are desperately trying to reach their loved ones on Maui. Their cell phone service was out. By just calling 1-800-RED-CROSS, we will be able to fill out a case and begin trying to match people.
Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency says a disaster unit from FEMA could be in Hawaii as early as tonight, with the agency already approving federal funds to the state.
It's what they call an incident management team. As we get a better handle on the extent of the damage, the degree to which they need additional resources to meet the needs, we'll have some idea who we need to call in to actually meet those.
And the Hawaii Red Cross wants the public to know it's not that hard to become a volunteer. They say one of their volunteer positions only takes a couple hours of training. We'll put a link on how to apply on our website. Reporting at Diamond Head, Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
Okay, again, the number you need to call The number you need to call is 1-800-RED Cross. 1-800-RED Cross. Okay? Because of the closed captioning here, we can't put that number out visually, but it's 1-800-RED Cross. Again, 1-800-RED Cross. That's a telephone number that you can use to send money or to help your fellow Mauians and people over on the Big Island that got burned out. Yes, there is damage. Yes, there was a fire on the west side of the Big Island. So folks, that's what we've been talking about. That's what we've seen, and that is the latest information from Hawaii. We are planning on trying to cover a report from the governor. I believe it's going to start in about an hour, and then we will get back with you and probably join that report in progress. But until then, we're going to continue with this report. Folks, there's a lot of stuff going on. I want to make it very clear that we are living in times of trouble and turmoil. Nothing is as it should be. Everything is dumped upside down, literally. Now, something happened yesterday. Something happened in Utah yesterday. There was a man shot and killed by the FBI in Provo, Utah. I have this report from Glenn Beck. I have authorization to play part of this for you. And he's interviewing, Glenn Beck is going to interview an FBI whistleblower, an agent that worked for the FBI in Salt Lake City. You need to see this, and then we'll discuss it.
Kyle, welcome to the Glenn Beck program. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Glenn?
I'm good. So this situation that happened in Provo, Utah yesterday is bothersome on so many levels. And let me start first with the quote-unquote victim, the guy who was making threats. You don't do that. What he did was wrong, illegal, and you would expect the FBI to come in. However, you wouldn't expect them to kill him. So I don't see a good guy here on either side, although I do kind of side with the victim because it was completely unnecessary on what happened. Can you talk me through this?
Yeah, so we have to look at sort of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is this. You can make really bad decisions and get to the point where there's a SWAT team there, and once that happens, a shooting of someone in that scenario can be very justified. And the deadly force policy for the FBI, which is the entire DOJ's deadly force policy, it's pretty specific. The most operative clause there is when the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject of the force, that's the person they shoot, poses an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury to the officer or another person, then that deadly force is justified. They're able to do it. So you can have a justifiable shooting, and I'm pretty confident, I've talked to my buddies who are actually on that team, that this was a straightforward weapon scenario. They were justified in making that shot. But we have, that's C, D, and E of the steps of, like he produces a weapon, they have to react to it, and then the guy is dead. That's C, D, and E. But A and B is the decisions of the investigation that went on before it and the decision to send SWAT into this guy's presence. And those can be bad decisions. So we can step further back and see this being a bigger problem. And so even though the SWAT team may have been justified in their shooting, sending SWAT, which is an FBI kind of a standard move right now. They have a whole matrices of questions and concerns for any given arrest operation. Mm-hmm. SWAT is the default position. I used to joke that the guys, because I used to work with the SWAT team in Washington field office. I've worked with SWAT teams in other places as a surveillance agent. We were integral in watching people before they were arrested, and so you would keep an eye on the subject before it happened. So I've done this, I don't know, upwards of 50 times, I would say. I've been in a lot of these briefings. Some of my buddies have been on these teams for a long time. And the kind of the kooky piece of it is that you don't want to engage somebody in a place where they are most likely to be violent. That's not the best course of action, right? So in order to get this guy into custody safely, there are many other tools in the tool belt. But I used to tell the guys on SWAT, SWAT doesn't stand for Special Weapons and a Tactic. It actually is the Standard Warrants and Arrest Team, because they are the default position the FBI goes to make arrests. Some case agents they'll never use their handcuffs because SWAT is busy doing their arrests, and that's a default.
Okay,
position. That's not good.
So Kyle, here is the thing. First of all, I thought George Floyd, I thought that was all about, and all the march against the police of using excessive force when it wasn't needed. I'm disgusted by this whole thing, and I still believe what the guy did was wrong, and he should have expected the FBI to show up. But they did show up. He's 75 years old. He is obese, 5'4", 300 pounds. He can't get up out of a chair without a walking stick or a cane. He walks with a cane. He's got a blind son who just had a stroke. And you use basically a tank to come in through his front window. I mean, here's the problem. If you wanted to get this guy and make sure that you had him in custody, why wouldn't you take him when he got out of his car at this parking lot of the supermarket? Why wouldn't you take him out, and surround him and arrest him in the parking lot of his church? Why wouldn't you go? He was a member of the church in good standing. He was actually part of the leadership of the church in a small way. He was a secretary to a clerical position. He could have gone to the pastor or the bishop and said, the FBI could have said, look, we have a warrant. We know this guy is old, he's infirm, but he's doing things that are really dangerous, and de-escalate. What they did is they almost guaranteed that this man would die.
I agree with you, and I agree that all those tactics, those techniques you just mentioned, those are in the tool belt and they exist, but the FBI is fundamentally not flexible, they're not nimble, and they're sort of lazy in their thinking. There's an old saying that if you choose your doctor, you choose your diagnosis. In many ways, if you choose your law enforcement tactic, you're going to choose that outcome as well, and you at least put certain things on the table that wouldn't otherwise be there. My old job, I spent 3 years doing this, thousands of hours a year, was called Special Operations Group, but essentially we were a surveillance group that had the ability, because we were armed agents, to do interdiction. And they call it TSI in the FBI, or Tactical Surveillance to Interdiction. And it's exactly what you just said. I grab you when you're pumping gas. We grabbed MS-13 members who might swing a machete at us and we might have to shoot. We grabbed them when they had 2 cups of coffee in their hand because they were going to their construction job at 7 in the morning. And that is far safer for the public, it's safer for the subject, and it's safer for the officer. So when you
what the hell happened? Why would you do that for MS-13, but not for a 75-year-old guy who doesn't mean the things that he's saying? He's just wrapped up in this stupid internet world.
There's 2 possibilities. One is that they're sending the message, and that is definitely a real possibility, and we have to do it. But we can't impugn people's motive without knowing. And the second possibility is lazy thinking, which is that we've always done it this way, and that is a default FBI position. It's like, well, we had 2 agents shot in 2021 on that child pornography warrant down in Miami, and we send SWAT to people that might have a gun, because that's one of the criteria. If they have a dangerous dog, that's a criteria for SWAT. And if they've shared basically that they have negative feelings about law enforcement. And one of the 3 charges that is in that complaint about this guy, Craig Robertson, is a complaint about him making threats to law enforcement. That's count number 2. It's 18 USC 115, where he basically told the FBI, come back with a warrant, and by the way, I'm carrying a gun. And so they took that as a threat. And look, that's a legitimate threat. His original threat.
I agree. I agree.
Those all happened in March. Like you said, bad choices. But you also see that the reason that this thing kicked off and why they went to go grab him was because Joe Biden was coming to the state, and he made a threat to Joe Biden. So we had the final straw was actually 18 USC 871, which is usually a Secret Service sort of prerogative. It just turns out they had this open case from the FBI.
So why wouldn't the Secret Service be the ones to go in? I've done this for 50 years, Kyle. I've reported on crazy stories for 50 years, 47. And I got to tell you, I've not seen this before with Secret Service or the FBI. I've seen them go take people in their house. I've seen them, president is coming in. They've monitored somebody. I've never seen this.
No, you're spot on. And so the concern is let's just do like a little replay because we all lived through Donald Trump's presidency. Sorry, my wife is pregnant. Well, my wife is pregnant right now. She's about to have a baby, so I have this. I got baby right.
Sorry about that.
But think about this. You've got people like Kathy Griffin that were cutting off the head of an effigy of Donald Trump. You've got Snoop Dogg pointing a gun at a Donald Trump sort of actor. You've got guys like
you have Johnny Depp saying where's the last time an actor killed a president with John Wilkes Booth? Maybe an actor should kill this president. I mean, they didn't bust his door down.
Madonna thinks she wanted to blow up the White House. Okay.
Yep.
So, and did any of those people? And I had people respond to me on social media, and they said, "Well, the Secret Service called them." And I said, I always felt like when the Secret Service called somebody, it's the same as a SWAT team breaking down your window at 6:15 in the morning. It's night and day in the experience of it. And so that is where it feels like it's weaponized because people are seeing two different sides and the way they were treated. And that's troubling.
Okay.
It should be really troubling to Americans.
All right. So they say he was armed. What does that mean? That he had guns in the safe, or he was holding one and pointing it at a tank, or pointing it at the officers?
Even having it in his hand would make it justifiable. That is an imminent threat. And so they can justify, like I said, you can say that this was a justified shoot and that it was a quote-unquote good shoot in the law enforcement context. And
wow, really? Because hang on just a second, Kyle, because I can't do that. If my life isn't truly threatened, even if he's pointing a gun at me, if I don't feel I'm truly threatened by that, it's not a justifiable shooting, and I'll have to go to court to prove that. But the FBI's okay?
Well, it's the way it's taught at Quantico, and so this is maybe some inside baseball for your listeners, but they actually do a scenario where a guy is sitting at a desk, and the reason why is this, and Glenn, this is me trying to be very fair to both sides of it, of which,
I know.
Like I said, I don't think anybody that was on that warrant woke up in the morning and said, we're going to go kill this guy, and here we go, and high-fived it when they were done. I think they're probably devastated. But the decisions from the management tree that made them there in that spot were very bad, and I think they're incredibly dangerous. The scenario that gets taught at Quantico, it's a standard training scenario that every FBI agent goes through. There's a man sitting at a desk. He has a gun on the desk with his hand on it. Okay? You are approaching this guy to give him a subpoena. You get up and you realize he has a weapon system. If you try to talk him down, he is saying he's going to kill himself, but he kills his secretary, and then he kills himself before you get a chance to react. And the fact of the matter is all these scenarios, action will beat reaction. If someone has a weapon system in their hand, and they have it at low ready or it is their hand in a holster, they can actually shoot you. You can actually draw a weapon out of the holster and shoot somebody if you make that decision before the person who's holding a gun on you can actually react. It's been proven over and over and over again on every level, special operations group to it. So that's why there's an imminent standard.
I've actually gone through the training, and one of the scenarios is a guy who's holding his girlfriend hostage, and the only way that you win in that situation is if you shoot him first. So I've seen the training and I understand that. I'm just bothered by what happened here because I've never seen it before. It's an overreaction from government. It is clear. I mean, right now, if this man were black and a Democrat, everybody would say, "Say his name, say his name." You want to talk about the cities would be on fire. And so I'm really bothered by it. And I'm also really bothered by the fact, because I've seen CSI, but maybe the FBI doesn't need to have anybody check on them. Why did they move the body from the house and leave it out on the sidewalk for 2 hours?
So I got two possibilities, and they're both stupid. The one possibility is they moved him out there to work on him in a medical scenario. We set up usually outside of these buildings in what we call a casualty collection point. That's a pretty standard military tactic. So you take people outside of the place where the threat is, you bring them to a safe place, and then you can work on them.
That's acceptable.
That's the most likely thing. And as I've been a paramedic for over 10 years, and that's what our plan was. You don't really expect to ever have to use it on a subject. It's generally in case one of your teammates is hit, but that may be the plan that they executed. So let's go with that. But why was he left out there? And we're hearing reports he was left out there for hours, and I can't validate those yet, but let's just assume that is basic government and particularly FBI incompetence, because the FBI doesn't deal with bodies. They don't shoot very many people, number one, thankfully. And number two, there's no plan if they did. Like, they don't deal with homicides. That is a local police matter. And
Well,
so
I
when,
mean,
when you have this scenario happen, what the hell do they do? They don't even know. They're calling, like, how do we get the lab division? Where's the ERT, the evidence response team? They're probably trying to do everything right and, do the federal thing, like, dot the I's and cross the T's, but they're screwing up and they're leaving a body out.
Maybe that's why, did they involve the local police or did they call 911 after they shot him? Maybe that's why you would have the local sheriffs. Yeah, that's why you should have the sheriff's department and the police department there. Because who's watching the bad guys? Who's watching the bad guys? If this guy is bad, great. If the other side is bad, we should know about it, and that's only if we have an independent look at it. I mean, I just, this really, really bothers me. And I'm not defending him. I'm really not. He was, I mean, he's known in the community as being a lovable teddy bear kind of guy, but he got wrapped up in his internet persona and did stupid things. But they've already met this guy. They've been looking at this guy forever. He's in he's threatened the president. He says he's going to get into a ghillie suit, and a ghillie suit in a car park surrounded in cement, and he's 300 pounds and he walks with a cane. What Bush walks around with a cane? I mean, it's ridiculous the way this was handled. And I hope it's not swept under the rug.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I know a lot about this situation now. I've done a little bit of investigation about what happened. I know this area where it happened very, very, very well. No, I have never been in that particular neighborhood. I have never met this man, I don't think. I don't think I've ever seen him, but I may have. The FBI walked into sleepy Provo, Utah, and it's a pretty good sized town. It's a college town, but this was a residential neighborhood. They came in there early in the morning because the boss from Washington, D.C. flew in the afternoon. I even have a picture of his Air Force One just about to land at Salt Lake City Airport. This man, 300 pounds, 75 years old, moves slowly with the cane. Yes, he made threats against the president. They've known about him since March. They had plenty of opportunity to at least talk to him before this point. There is an FBI office out near the Salt Lake City Airport. I've driven by it, past it many, many times. The FBI had every opportunity in the world to confront this guy before this ever happened. Like Glenn Beck said, and yes, I know his name as well, but I'm not going to put it out. Not right now. He was in his house early this morning. There was a man who was in his congregation that was a close friend of his. And Glenn Beck interviewed that close friend earlier today. There was every opportunity to confront him in the church parking lot. The church was just a half a block down the street from this gentleman. He could have easily walked there had he been able to. But again, he drove a half block to the church because he was hardly able to walk. He was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that I know a lot about. Each congregation has a bishop and two counselors. A bishop and two counselors. They also have a ward clerk that handles the financial side of the donations for that congregation. This gentleman was the ward clerk of that ward. Each congregation is called a ward in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This gentleman was the ward clerk. He was described as a teddy bear of a guy. Never bothered anybody. Yes, on the internet, because the internet is so awesome, so big, worldwide big, he thought he'd put on a little bit of a tough guy kind of persona on the internet. Yes, he did make threats. Making threats against the president is unlawful. It's illegal. It's a violation of the law. And it's taken very seriously. Again, let me give you a little bit of my background and why I'm saying what I'm saying. Because, folks, I've been there. I am a retired federal police officer. My designation as a federal police officer was GS-083, the same designation as an FBI agent. I was a uniformed police officer. I studied homicide, and I was ready to investigate a homicide if it had occurred. And yes, we had homicides out in my patrol area. I was part of the suicide team, trying to talk people that were totally able to take their lives and about to do so. I only lost one suicide person that jumped out a window. I was a U.S. federal police officer, weapons instructor. I taught civilians and military and federal police and regular police officers how to shoot and how not to shoot. We went through shoot, don't shoot situations all the time. Every 3 months, an officer, a law enforcement officer, by law, has to undergo shooting scenarios, has to go through a shooting scene, has to show us, the instructors, that they can adequately shoot. And we teach them when and when not to shoot. Folks, this is wrong on so many levels. My training, as Glenn Beck just pointed out here, was first, if you are in a community, you advise the local police department. Yes, my beat was near and on civilian property, off of federal property, many, many times. You first advise the local police department when you have a case or a serious event that could happen. You try to involve the locals first and bring them in. Second, you cordon off the neighborhood to protect innocent people. Even to the fact of the matter, you go to door to make sure people stay in their own homes. And yes, they apparently did that to a certain extent. His next door neighbor was a lady, and she took her young son down in the basement of their home because she was scared. She said that as much. So they apparently went door to door around this guy and advised his neighbors to stay in their homes. Now, Glenn mentioned that they had a great big huge tank with a great big huge punch bar, just as a military tank vehicle has a cannon on it to shoot great big huge rounds out of it. This had a great big huge punch bar, and on the front part of the punch bar was a huge plate that they could literally ram through a building, ram through windows or whatever they wanted to go in. It's a battering ram. And yes, they went with that battering ram over his lawn, through his window. That's how it went down. They made entry apparently into his home and shot him dead, and then pulled his body out. This man was again 300 pounds. 300 pounds. It probably would have taken at least 4 to 5 people to carry this man out and set him on his lawn next to the street. And that's where they left him. Now, I don't know how many people carried him. That information has not become available yet. It will. They put his body on the street and covered it with a sheet. They left it there for hours. Now, as a crime scene investigator, which I was that, I studied crime scene investigation. Yes, I watched CSI on TV, and that's only a small part of it. And yes, they glorify that as well. What you see on TV usually is not the complete story. And it isn't. But there is a method to securing a crime scene. The first is not moving the body. The first thought at a crime scene is to never move the body. Never move the body. How many times have I said that now? Yet this is exactly what they did. They violated all police protocol. It doesn't matter what they say they do as the FBI. That was a crime scene, and they should never have touched the man. They should never have moved the body at all. If they were to touch the man and he was a real problem, it was one of subduing the suspect. Touching the body, touching the man before he died to prevent an event, an incident. But apparently that's not what happened. We don't know what happened. But they shot and killed that man. I have real problems with it, just as Glenn Beck does, and I left him a message of that. Now, they're the FBI Special SWAT Team. They no longer call it Special Weapons and Tactics. They call it Special Warrant Arrest Team. Special Warrant Arrest Team. They're supposed to do their background homework before doing what happened yesterday. Before you go into the field, before you go into the event, you do your homework. They obviously had him under surveillance since last March. They could have taken him into custody at any time. They didn't do it. They waited until the day that the President of the United States came into town. If they had done this before the President flew into town, they might have been able to do it in a far different manner, and nobody would have been the wiser, nor would they have been killing a man. But probably under some kind of duress, hey, we got to go get this guy. We've got to go to him, arrest him, and take him into custody before he goes out to the Salt Lake City airport or wherever he might go. Number one, the FBI probably didn't even think that he may have gone someplace else to meet the president. Yes, they confronted him early in the morning. The president flew in later than that. So they went in and did their dirty work, got in and out, and left the body on the ground for several hours. As a federal agent, as a police officer, it doesn't matter whether I work for the federal government or any government, state, city, local, it doesn't matter. Every police officer is trained to de-escalate the scene. You don't pull your guns and shoot unless lives are in danger. Guns may be displayed, meaning you break the leather and you got your gun out at the ready, but you don't fire your weapons unless there's no other avenue available. Again, I was not there in Salt Lake, in Provo, Utah, when this happened yesterday. I wasn't even anywhere near it. I am a Monday afternoon quarterback, though. I am a Monday afternoon quarterback because I wasn't there. In my opinion, and Glenn Beck's, as he said, the FBI violated the man's rights. They destroyed the crime scene. That was the second thing. They violated the law. And they took the body out near the street. Number 3. So they have a lot of answers, have to give us a lot of answers. And I hope in the coming days that's exactly what we get. What happened yesterday in Provo, Utah is never, capital N-E-V-E-R, never done. I do hope reports were written, and yes, I know what happens in some departments. They go through and skillfully write their reports as if it was normal business. Yes, there will be complaints and there will even be lawsuits. In my opinion, bad cops. The FBI screwed this up. Big time. Big time. Now, getting off that subject because I am pissed. I'm royally pissed. My buddy Don Patoka is here. One of our mods. I'm grateful he's here too. Mark Stolte's in the chat saying, sound tyrannical. I agree. Kimberly Hopkins says she has family in Provo, Utah. Is there a way I can find info on this? Yes, go over to the Glenn Beck channel. He has 2 different videos up there that talk about this. You need to watch and listen to them both. Okay? If you call the Provo police, they're going to say, we didn't do it. They probably had officers on the scene, but they're going to tell you they don't know any information because it's an active investigation. Ruth St. John's here. I just got through explaining what happened, Ruth. A man was killed by the FBI, and in my opinion, it was a bad shoot. You can go back and listen to the entire story from Glenn Beck himself, from his mouth, and from the FBI whistleblower that he interviewed there. You get the full story. There's 2 stories now that Glenn Beck has out here. I fully encourage you to watch and listen to both broadcasts. Now, getting back very quickly to Hawaii. There were 3 fires on the island of Maui. One of those fires destroyed the entire town of Lahaina. Side to side, backwards and forwards, top to bottom. Destroyed the town. The fires were able to move faster than the containment lines around the fire could be built. That's number one. Number two, the fires were able to move faster than the fire teams could even move around the island. Number three, there was a total breakdown of coordinating communications after the power and the cell towers were taken out by the fire. Fire teams could not communicate with anything but radios, and in some cases, radios may not work because there's a huge volcano there and they're fighting fire on one side of the volcano and on the other. So some of the radio communications were not getting out to other people, other fire teams, to their headquarters. And I'm sure there are fire chiefs all around this fire, all around 3 fires. There were, at least until at least noon, when I last talked to anybody over on the island, there were 100 firefighters working 24-hour shifts. Firefighters working 24-hour shifts. That's rarely ever done. 12-hour shifts, yes. But because there were only a total of 200 firefighters for any period, they had to break the other 100 and then bring in another 100 firefighters, as well as military. And because of the winds, they were not able to bring in helicopters until today. Wind speeds were upwards of 65 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour, which are hurricane strength winds. And I explained that on our previous broadcast, 3 broadcasts now, about what happened on Hawaii, and it's not going to be the last. There were 0 air assets that I just got through talking about. 0 air assets until today. The Hawaiian Islands haven't seen a runaway fire like this since the firebombing of World War II. Those fires were comparable to the fires on the Big Island in 2020. There wasn't a plan in place. This is the last point I want to make. There was no plan in place for rapid movement of assets, fire trucks, water, or anything from one island to the other. They would have had to load large fire trucks, and you and I have all seen fire trucks. They would have had to load large fire trucks and water tankers from the Big Island or Oahu in order to accommodate the firefighters on the island of Maui. It wasn't possible. There was no plan in place. I'll bet within the next few months there probably will be. But no one had any idea that this would ever happen here, over in Maui, or anywhere. I'm just pointing this out. I just want to make sure that everybody understands what is going on. Now, we're going to talk about earthquakes. There's 2 earthquakes I want to talk to you about. First, one that Richard Smith just mentioned in the chat. There's been a large 5.3 earthquake in the Cook Strait between the North Island and the South Island of New Zealand. Let's go take a look at the USGS map here. Okay. We're going to take a big look at this. Okay? Right now I'm showing you Indonesia here. Well, guess what? USGS doesn't even have that earthquake there. I'll show you this earthquake here over in the Fiji Islands here. It's actually south of the Fiji Islands. It's at least a 5.0 earthquake. 74 miles deep. A 5.0 large earthquake. 75 miles deep. That's a big earthquake. Regardless of what the agencies now say. Because now they're calling 5.0 earthquakes moderate earthquakes. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a moderate earthquake. I shouldn't say that. There is a moderate earthquake. A moderate earthquake is between 4.0 and 4.9. That's a moderate earthquake. A large earthquake is 5.0 to 5.9. 5.0 earthquakes, folks, can do a lot of damage. 5.0 earthquakes can kill people. Rarely, if ever, have I ever heard of a moderate 4.0, 4.9 killing anyone. It does moderate, minor damage, basically. It'll knock photos and things off the walls. It'll knock books off of shelves and knickknacks off of shelves. It'll rattle plates and dishes and glasses in a cupboard. That it will do. But this is not a moderate earthquake. I don't give a flying rat's frosty keister what the agency said. Okay? I don't. Folks, they're calling this a 5.53. This was a mid-range 5. A 5.53 down here in the Cook Strait. Down in the Cook Strait. Now, I want to show you something. Just north of that earthquake. Just north of that earthquake. There's nobody living there. There's a road. Well, I can't say nobody living there. There may be people living out in the boondocks there. Okay? There may be people living out there. But I'm going to tell you. In fact, I know there are people living out there. There are some farms there. You can see those little squares out there. There are farms out around that volcano. And yes, there's a volcano right there. Okay? Let me zoom in here to areas where people might live, such as this area right here. So there is people that live near the shoreline of the South Island. But look how far that earthquake is away from shore. A 5.5 mid-range 5. That is a big earthquake. Now, my buddy Al Sanchez, from listening to radio station KCAL in Los Angeles, has updated the death toll at Maui to 53 people killed as a result of that fire. Let me check on something here. Just hang in here with me for a minute, guys. I'm sorry. Yes, the death toll is now 53. Death toll from Lahaina fire, now 53, as a frantic search for survivors continues. Okay? Death toll now at 53 people gone. The death toll from the catastrophic wildfire in Lahaina grew by 17 to 53 people, as first responders continued a massive search for survivors. There are no immediate details on who was among the fatalities as of yet, but authorities warn the death toll could grow higher given what they know about just how quickly the wind-whipped flames spread through Lahaina, giving some only minutes to flee. Hawaii leaders are set to hold a news conference at 3:30 p.m. at the latest about this blaze. That's about, I was saying earlier, about 8 o'clock. I believe it's 9 p.m. our time here on the East Coast. Okay? And that just came across. I don't see any news conference starting right here, but we will monitor this thing by the time it gets going. But again, USGS does not even show this 5.53 earthquake. Okay? They just don't. There's 4 earthquakes here, 4 earthquakes there in the Cook Strait. One right next to the Big Island, the North Island. It's a 2.25. It's a 2.25. Just to the east of that big 5.53 is a 2.23. A 2.23. On the west side of that earthquake is a 2.59. A 2.59. Now, folks, you only see 3 earthquakes, maybe 4 in that area. There's one over on just north of there on the west side of the North Island. It's a 3.35. A 3.35. Okay? Folks, I believe, as most geologists and even the scientists at USGS, there's probably going to be more foreshocks and or aftershocks from this 5.53 earthquake down there in New Zealand. So far, over on the South Island near Christchurch, there's a 2.8. A minor 2.8 earthquake over at Christchurch, New Zealand.
Earthquake upgraded to 5.5 from 5.3 location.
It's now been upgraded to a 5.5, so we have the latest information before the USGS even announced it. Now, I'm not going to go over all the earthquakes here at the North Island. There's plenty of those. There's plenty of those. 2, 4, 6 other earthquakes on the North Island. 6 earthquakes. They're all 2s. It appears they're 2.7, 2.33, 2.68 is the largest. Well, no, actually, I'm sorry. The largest is a 3.03. A 3.03 appear near Gisborne, New Zealand. 3.03, it says Hawke's Bay, New Zealand, but I think that's more like Gisborne, New Zealand. I think Hawke's Bay is down there where those other earthquakes are off the east shore of the North Island. I believe that's Hawke's Bay there. And yes, I'm right. That's Hawke's Bay, New Zealand right there. Okay? So that's what's going on in New Zealand. That's the biggest earthquake of the day. Literally. A 5.53 over in New Zealand. And I expect more than that. Okay? Now, I want to ask you guys a question. Do you want me to talk about New Zealand? Excuse me. Do you want me to talk about the New Madrid fault, or do you want me to talk about what happened in California today? I can talk about either one or both. What is your pleasure? What would you like me to see me talking about? I've got seismograms from both areas. That's why it was a little bit late that I came on the air. I was trying my darndest to come on the air just after 6, and because I went after earthquakes in California, I decided to get both of them. Renee Seppi says both. Awaken California. Jeanne wanted California. Hurricane says California. Don Patoka says both. And I may well do both. If I do both, I am not going to show you all the earthquakes that happened in New Zealand, but I will show you the big ones. In New Zealand, excuse me, not New Zealand, I'm sorry, the New Madrid fault area, I'll show you the larger earthquakes along the New Madrid fault, and I'll also go into California and show you what's going on there. Aubrey says both. You put in that work. Thank you. I'll do that. So I got both. I'll do both. Okay? So anyway, that's where we're going next. Now, before I get going on that, let us go back over here to the USGS map. There's one other earthquake I want to show you. And I think it holds primary importance about what we're talking about. Yes, guys, look at this earthquake over in Turkey. That was a 5.3. Eastern Turkey here, guys, has had many, many earthquakes today. And it was not just a 5.3 that USGS is showing. There was at least a 5.5 and a 5.7 that hit here in Turkey today. But again, this agency doesn't give a flying rat's butt. They only show the earthquakes they want to show. Turkey has been hit here all day long. There's probably 75 earthquakes here in Turkey, and they're showing 2. What kind of crap is that? I'm sorry I get mad, but that's baloney. It's nothing but cotton picking baloney. Okay, I want to go over here and talk about what's going on here from Monterey Bay south. This earthquake right here that's just east of Monterey Bay. They're not showing any earthquakes at all around San Francisco. There are some minor quakes and tremors around San Francisco. Heaven forbid they show them all. This earthquake here is a 2.7 minor earthquake on the San Andreas Fault, just east of Monterey Bay. Then we go south. There's also a 2.0 minor earthquake here. This is the Pinnacles. This is an oil and gas pumping region right here on the San Andreas Fault here. Let's go over to the coast. Oceana Fault. This is a 1.3 magnitude tremor near San Simeon, California. Our buddy Sage Pup and his girlfriend visited here just about 2 years ago. There was a 5.0 earthquake that hit here. Now just a 1.3 tremor. Let's go back over here eastbound to the San Andreas Fault. Okay, I'm going to show you several earthquakes here. And again, these are only the earthquakes that the United States Geological Survey wants to show us. This is a 4.3 earthquake that they have called it. It came out as a 4.7. A 4.7 moderate quake, and it's 6 miles deep. A 4.7 earthquake, 6 miles deep. USGS brought it down to 4.3, nearly a half magnitude downgrade. Over here, also in Parkfield, this is a 1.4 tremor. Just north of there, also on the San Andreas Fault, a 1.8. This happens to be 4 miles northwest of Parkfield. This one here is, they say, 4 miles northwest of Parkfield. They're full of beans. How can both earthquakes be 4 miles northwest of Parkfield? It's physically impossible. Physically impossible. What kind of crap are they trying to pull on us? Parkfield, California here is the earthquake capital of California. The earthquake capital of California. Up until today, the latest 3 to 4 years, all they've had is tremors and minor earthquakes up to 2.5. That's all they've had here at Parkfield. South of that 4.7, this is a 2.8. They're saying this is 3 miles northwest of Parkfield. What's the problem here? It's not northwest of Parkfield. No way in heck could this be north of anything. Well, yes, if there had been an earthquake south of there, this earthquake would have been north of it. But this is southwest of Parkfield on the San Andreas Fault. This earthquake hit at 4:31 Eastern Time. This one here, this 4.7, hit at 3:17 p.m. Eastern Time. This one here, the 1.4 tremor, hit at 18:09, 6:09 p.m. Eastern Time. This one here hit at the same time, 18:09, 6:09 p.m. But how can this and this earthquake be the same distance away from Parkfield? Physically impossible. No way, Jose. This happens more times than not. The United States Geological Survey is almost never right. Never. Never, ever right. They're also saying this earthquake, a large 4.7, is also 4 miles northwest of Parkfield. It's physically impossible. It's incredible. But that's the biggest earthquake in California today. Parkfield has a history of earthquakes, large and small. The capital, earthquake capital of California. Maybe tomorrow or maybe Saturday, I don't know, usually come on the air on Saturdays anymore, but I may just do, if we continue to have earthquakes here, I might just do a special report. Earthquakes in Parkfield, and show you pictures of Parkfield. Show you how the landscape in Parkfield, California has changed since the land is moved by the seismic system in the earth. How the earth has moved. And there's plenty of pictures to prove that. For right now, let's go down here to Southern California. I'm going to talk about earthquakes over here in Santa Barbara. Up here in Santa Barbara. I'm going to talk about earthquakes here in the Los Angeles basin. I'm going to talk about earthquakes over towards Riverside, over towards excuse me, over towards the desert communities out there. The first thing I'm going to do is show earthquakes over in Los Angeles. Okay, so let's get out of the USGS map, and then we're also going to show earthquakes in San Diego and earthquakes over by the Salton Sea, and there's plenty of them. There are plenty of earthquakes there. It's amazing what earthquakes are there. Folks, this is Bakersfield. This is California State University in Bakersfield. These are nothing but tremors. These are nothing but tremors here. You can see from this seismogram here, it started out at 9 a.m. Actually, forgive me. They have this as June 26th. This doesn't even make sense. They have that as June 26th. That's a bunch of crap. I'm sorry, I should have seen that. I should have seen that before I even put it up here. This is also June 26th. That's crap too. Hold the phone. Hold the proverbial phone. That's a bunch of crap. I refreshed this information before I even went on the air today. Okay, Bakersfield, the last time they showed anything was June 26th. Barstow was today. Okay, good enough. I knew I had refreshed everything. That blows my mind. Let's go over to Barstow. I'm sorry, guys. USGS and Caltech are a bunch of crooks. For Caltech to keep seismograms posted back in June is stupid. 2 months ago. 2 frickin' months ago. That's unreal. This is Barstow. Barstow was about a third of the way from San Diego to Las Vegas. Barstow. Yes, there are earthquakes and seismic activity over in Barstow. The San Andreas Fault affects earthquakes out in Barstow, and all you see is a slight bit of tremor activity just around 12:17 p.m. this afternoon in Barstow. Rarely do we ever have earthquakes there that do anything. Yes, there have been a number of them though. Okay? Cabazon. Cabazon is between Riverside and San Diego. Cabazon is in what they call the Anza Gap. Folks, this is what we're showing in the Anza Gap today. Again, this seismogram here started at 5 a.m. this morning. 5 a.m. this morning. Look at all the activity here. Folks, this is all tremor activity. All of it. There's no minor earthquakes, small earthquakes, or large earthquakes here. This is just tremors. However, let me show you this. I want everybody to understand what we're talking about. I'm going back to the USGS map here. Going back to the USGS map, I want to show you where Cabazon is. Okay? Let's go out here to Cabazon. Folks, I want to show you this whole thing here. There is a fault where these earthquakes are at right here. Okay? The San Jacinto Fault. This is a 1.1 tremor. Just north of it is also a 1.1 tremor in Fontana. Now I'm going to show you a seismogram from Fontana. Guess what? There are a lot more tremors and earthquakes in Fontana. USGS has 1.1 tremor. We go south from Rialto, south from Fontana. We go down to Loma Linda. This is a 0.6 microquake at Loma Linda. Okay? Loma Linda, guys, where's that? Folks, Loma Linda is where there is a medical center hospital. Right there. Loma Linda Medical Center is right there. Okay? This is where that earthquake hit. They say it's 1 mile southeast of Loma Linda. Well, it might just be right this time. This earthquake here is 2 miles southeast of Loma Linda, California, a 0.8 microquake. This earthquake is 3 miles southeast of Loma Linda. This earthquake here is 1.0 tremor, a mile southeast of Redlands. Really? Again, I question where USGS says this earthquake is. Okay? Redlands? Possibly. I doubt it. Okay? Let's follow the San Andreas Fault here. This is San Jacinto. We just had an earthquake 6.0 in the Cook Strait between the North and South Island of New Zealand. A very strong 6.0 earthquake is hit in the Cook Strait, right between the South and North Island of New Zealand. We'll come back to that. This one is a 0.9 microquake, 3 miles north-northeast of San Jacinto, California. This is also very interesting because I also have a seismogram from San Jacinto campus in Hemet, California. Guess what? San Jacinto is right next to that. Okay? Then we drop south. This is Idlewild. 0.8, 0.8. This is a 0.6. This is a 0.5. This is a 0.4. And there's one yet here. That's a 0.4. Oh, don't tell me. Sorry, folks. They did it to me again. They just think they're really cool. There's a 6.6 down there, guys, right here. They don't have the 5.5 here. Okay? Go figure. They downgraded that other earthquake to a 5.1, from 5.5 to a 5.1. Go figure. Almost a half magnitude downgrade. Go figure. Let's go back up here. I want to show you this. Okay? I definitely want to show you this. All these tremors and quakes over here This is Cabazon here. That is Cabazon. Okay, where did those other quakes go? Okay, Cabazon is up here, guys. They're showing us a 2.3 minor earthquake in Cabazon. Now you know where Cabazon is. We're also showing a 1.3 tremor in Cabazon. Okay? It's out in the desert communities in the hills. I don't believe these are mountains, these are actually hills there in California. Okay? We go down here to Idlewild. All these microquakes out here in Idlewild. This is the last one I want to show you. It's also 0.3 microquake in Idlewild. Idlewild ought to pay me for putting this thing on. We talk about Idlewild all the time. I happened to stay for a weekend in Idlewild quite a few years ago. I loved it there. Idlewild is a mountainous community, and they have wonderful knickknack shops, curios, and all sorts of stuff you can buy, souvenirs, everything. They have A-frame cabins you can stay in, gorgeously appointed A-frame cabins. No TVs, only radios. Out there you don't need a TV. Maybe they don't want to put television antennas up on the roofs of those cabins. Possibly. It's a beautiful area during the summer and fall to go hiking, in the springtime as well. They got a lot of snow this last winter. The snow is probably melted by now. There are probably a lot of people in Idlewild, and yet they're having all these tremors and microquakes in Idlewild today. Okay? Dropping further south, this is the Anza Gap area. This whole area here is called the Anza Gap, along the San Andreas Fault. The Anza Gap. This is 0.9. This is a 0.8. Further south, this is in Borrego Springs, part of the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. So these two tremors here in the Anza Desert here, all part of the Anza Borrego Desert State Park here in northeast San Diego County. Northeast San Diego County. Here, the Pala Indian Reservation. Okay? The Pala Indian Reservation, I have been here. I don't even want to go into some of the things that I've been involved with out here on the Pala Indian Reservation, but I've been here. This is a 0.8 microquake. This is the first time in a very long time that we've talked about Pala. And I was going to show you the seismograph for Pala, but guess what? US or Caltech doesn't show anything going on at Pala Indian Reservation. They've got a seismograph there, but they're not showing any information at Pala. So that's what's going on there. Let's get out of the USGS map now and go back to what we were talking about earlier. Okay? Okay. Let's go back here to earthquakes in Southern California. Again, this is in Cabazon. They do not show any 2.3 earthquakes here in Cabazon. All of these are tremors. So again, they are not showing the earthquake here. Go figure. What else is new for the USGS or anybody else? Okay? Then I'm going to go further south, over in Fontana. Remember they showed a 1.0 tremor in Fontana? What is this showing? A lot more than a 1.0 tremor here. Guess what? Fontana has had plenty of earthquakes. Plenty of earthquakes, guys. Look what we're showing here. Look at the top. Okay? First off, on the red line on the left-hand side, you're seeing a red line approach going off the paper. If it was a black line and went off the paper, it would be a 2.0 earthquake. This red line, guess what? There's enough line here to say that this was a 2.0 earthquake. Let's go over here further to the right here, on the blue lines. Folks, these blue lines are showing the top part of the line. It's high enough to say that this was probably at least a 2.5, 2.7 minor earthquake. Both of these. Both of them. That thicker line one, guess what, guys? There was more than just one earthquake there. That earthquake lasted, the shaking lasted here probably a good 5 or 10 seconds here. Okay? It lasted an awful long time here there. You see, not big earthquakes, but minor earthquakes hitting all over Fontana here. Now, with that said, minor earthquakes, guys, minor earthquakes, maybe, well, more probably than not, 98% chance of nobody even feeling these earthquakes. These are minor earthquakes, but minor the less, we have earthquakes here. More than just a measly 1.0 tremor that USGS said we did. Okay? This is crazy. Going into Los Angeles, those of you that have lived in LA, guess what? This is Castaic, the Castaic Valley area. Look what we have here. Just after 8 o'clock, we're showing some very minor tremors. The first one, probably 1.2, 1.3, or excuse me, probably 1.2, 1.3 tremor. The second one, maybe just a 1.2. Then after 9 a.m. this morning, almost 9:15, starting up just before 9:12 this morning, we have some tremors. Still very minor tremors, and again, just before 10:15 here. About 10:11, these tremors started. 10:11, 10:12, these tremors started. Then, this afternoon, folks, we have a minor earthquake here. This happened after 12:17 p.m. this afternoon. It started with tremors and then went to a minor earthquake, a 2.0 earthquake, and then we had even more tremors. Now, look at what I call a triangle. The secondary wave after that larger earthquake, the 2.0. Look how far that goes out. It goes out a full 60 seconds. This earthquake may have been larger than that, than they're saying it is. That was in Castaic, guys. Castaic. Now, I'm going out to Chino next, right here. This is pretty typical for Chino. Very typical for Chino, California. We're showing nothing but tremors here. The largest being a 1.8, maybe a 1.9 tremor. There are no 2.0 earthquakes here at all. These are tremors. But there's a lot of seismic activity here, isn't there? A ton of it. Let's go farther down into Los Angeles. Folks, this is Del Amo. There is almost no white on this seismogram. There is almost no white on this seismogram. Isn't that interesting? These are also all tremors. I don't see any 2.0 earthquakes at all. These are all tremors. This is what happens when an area is shaking. Okay? It completely obliterates the white of the paper. Let's go out to Ellis, California. Look at this. This is a little bit different. There are tremors here, active tremors, consistent tremors, 1.0, 1.2, maybe even 1.3 tremors up here at the top. This started off at 5 a.m. this morning with just minor tremors, very tiny tremors. Then, just about 6:37 this morning, it started. 1.8, 1.9 tremors. The tremors continued. They went mild after a while. But for a full almost 2 minutes, we had some pretty good tremors here. Nothing to be felt. Going down to 7 o'clock, nothing but tremors. 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, all the way down to just after 10:16 this morning on the red line. That, folks, is the first 2.0, 2.3 earthquake. It's at least a 2.0, 2.3 earthquake. And there's a lot of red there. Tremors leading to a good-sized earthquake. Again, a 2.3 may or may not be able to be felt unless you're very sensitive. Okay? And those tremors continue throughout that 15-minute time period, from 10:15 on to 10:30. At 10:30, it's a different story. Then these earthquakes are now 2.0 earthquake. And it lasted 30 seconds. All that blue area on that blue line at 10:30, the earth shook. 2.0 magnitude earthquake, at least. You see a lot of other tremor activity after that, and it could possibly be also within 3 or 4 minutes after that, could possibly also been more minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.3, maybe 2.4 earthquakes. You can see that blue line move quite a bit here. Then we jump down through the rest of the day here. Okay, all the way down here to 2:45 on the green line. Just prior to 2:45, over here on the blue line to the right, okay, this, folks, is 2:43 p.m. I'm sorry, it's not 2:43, it's 2:28 p.m. Eastern Time, or not Eastern Time, 2:43 p.m. Pacific Time. Again, I think we may have had a 2.0 earthquake, or 2 of them there. Then it goes down here to 2:45 on this green line here, and we have nothing but tremors here. Okay? This is Ellis, California. Okay. Idlewild. Okay, I showed you the map at Idlewild. Look what we see here. 1.0, 1.2, maybe 1.3 tremors, and they had more tremors than they showed on the map. It was a tremor swarm here at Idlewild. A tremor swarm. That's Idlewild. Let's go over to the coast near Laguna Beach, Laguna Bell. Look at this. Even over on the west side of Los Angeles, Laguna Bell here is showing nothing more than 1.0 tremors, and occasionally getting up to 1.3, maybe 1.4 tremors at the most. Okay? Laguna Bell. We've seen larger tremors and even minor earthquakes at Laguna Bell in the past. Okay? Let's go down to Long Beach. and the Anaheim area. Light hype. Let's look at light hype here. Look at this. Again, all I see is tremors and maybe a 2.0 earthquake. Maybe. Okay? Usually we can see 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes here at light hype. Not today. These are tremors. Again, almost no white on the seismogram at all. That's how busy a day it was over in the Long Beach, Anaheim area. Now, right next to Long Beach, Anaheim, there's another one we call State Street. So I want to go down here and show you the seismogram at State Street. Look at this. Usually this seismogram here is showing completely top to bottom, side to side movement. That's not the case today. However, in this case, on this seismogram, this is just near where light hype was, just about a mile or two away. Here, it's clearly showing not just tremors, but 2.0 earthquakes as well. You can see those longer lines here, all over this seismogram. At the bottom, all you're seeing is tremors on the blue line and the green line. But occasionally around the rest of this seismogram, you're seeing tremors and very minor earthquakes happening over in the Anaheim, Long Beach area. Okay? That's what's going on there. Now, I want to take you over just north and west of Santa Barbara. This is Lompoc, California. This seismograph was located at the federal penitentiary at Lompoc. Okay? This earthquake is pretty good sized here at Lompoc. Okay? This happened just after 12:17 p.m. today. This would likely be a 2.8 earthquake from the outset, and several other 2.8s throughout this entire duration of the shaking. And you can see those lines going up and down. Several 2.5, 2.8 earthquakes, and after that, we have a secondary wave that lasts 2 full minutes. So again, I have to look at all those tremors after the fact of the earthquake. That means that this earthquake may have been larger than just a 2.5, 2.8 earthquake. Okay? They may have turned the electronics down on this seismograph. And I'm going to show you similar seismographs here in just a minute. Okay? The next one I'm going to show you is Los Angeles. Look what we have here. These are the first images we've had of more than just microquakes and minor tremors here at the Civic Center, the LA City County building in Los Angeles. Look what we have here. Yes, we have tons of tremors here. Guess when they happened? Just after 7:45 today. We even have 2.0, 2.3 earthquakes, minor earthquakes here after 7:45 a.m. today. Okay? This is the first time in maybe 2.5 years that I've analyzed and shown you earthquakes here in Los Angeles. Okay? The first time I've shown you actual earthquakes in Los Angeles at the downtown complex. Okay? That's the first time it's happened. Now, I'm going over to McPherson Peak in Los Angeles. Look what I'm showing you. Here at McPherson Peak, we're showing you that earthquake. I believe it's the same one. 12:17 p.m. today. However, this shows it to be larger than a 2.5. Maybe 2.7, 2.8 here. This is a good-sized earthquake. It still shows us the secondary wave, but this time the secondary wave carries out past 2 minutes. This secondary wave lasted nearly 3 minutes. Methinks that this was a large earthquake. Wait till I show you some more seismograms, guys. So far, I've shown you this one at Castaic at the exact same time, showing you minor tremors and maybe a 2.3 earthquake. Then I showed you this at Lompoc, where it might have been just a 2.0. Then I showed you this one at McPherson Peak, a large earthquake. Interesting, huh? It's very interesting. Loma Linda. Remember me showing you tremors over at Loma Linda? All kinds of tremors. At 7:34, 7:35 this morning on this blue line here near the top. Look what we have. We have a lot of activity. How about after 8:03, 8:04 a.m. this morning on that black one? Look at that. 1.6, 1.8 tremors, huh? Yes, we've had some good sized tremors here in this area. Mira Loma. I showed you tremors at Mira Loma before, didn't I? Except it was Loma Linda. The seismograph sitting at Loma Linda shows us what's going on at Loma Linda. Let's continue here. Let's go over to Moore Park, Los Angeles. This is more central LA. Look what we have here. Usually at Moore Park we have a few more tremors than we're seeing here. All of this activity is tremors. Yes, there may be a tiny few microquakes here as it is, but that's all. All of these are tremors, 1.2, 1.3, on up to 1.5, 1.6 tremors. All day long. Off and on all day long here at Moore Park. It's not the only place, guys. Guess where we're going now? Pardee. Look what we're showing here. It's not quite as active as Moore Park, but look what we're showing you. Off and on tremors all over the place. However, down at the bottom of this seismogram, what do we have here on the red line? The red line here on the left is 2:30. So over here, just about 2:40 p.m., what do we have? A 2.5 earthquake. A 2.5 earthquake here. Pardee, California. This is the first 2.5 earthquake that we've seen at Pardee. Usually it's all tremors. That's the first 2.4, 2.5 earthquake at Pardee. Okay? Do you see what I'm showing you here? an increase in seismicity. The earthquakes are actually growing. They're getting larger here. Rancho Mirage out in the desert. Look at this. More and more tremors, guys, along the San Andreas Fault out here. Look at this. Almost constant tremor activity here. Not just 1.0 tremors. Yes, we have a lot of 1.0s, 1.2s, and even 1.3s. But at times here, it's constant tremor activity. Larger, 1.2, 1.3, but these tremors last 3 to 5 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes. Isn't that wild? This is the first time we've seen this much seismic activity at Rancho Mirage. Okay? Now, I want to show you Ridgecrest, China Lake. Yes, this is a little bit north of Los Angeles. This is a little bit north of Los Angeles, but I want to show you this. This is a USGS seismogram. Okay? Up at the top, always show is minor activity. Microquake, minor tremor activity here. Yes, there are some 1.2, 1.3, 1.5 tremors up here last night. Okay? Up at the top is last night. This seismogram started recording tremor activity at about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. So all the way up here until midnight, we don't have much of anything but just some tremors before 10 p.m. Nothing else happens but minor tremors until about 6 a.m. this morning. 6 a.m. this morning. Folks, this is the China Lake Ridgecrest volcano. The China Lake Ridgecrest volcano. As I told you last week, on this very seismogram, we actually found a magma churn signal. Magma churn signals happen when the magma is superheated within the volcano. Up until this point, we thought we only had a magma channel running out to a volcano. Now this is the Ridgecrest China Lake volcano. Okay? The red lines are put here by the computer to get the seismologist's attention to let them know what happened. Now, this morning, I'm going to increase the size of this seismogram so you can see what happened. This morning, after 6 a.m., we had some tremors, didn't we? Then, just about 6:33 this morning, we have our first 2.0 earthquake. And we have some tremors, don't we? All over. Then after 8:45 this morning, about 8:48, 8:49 this morning, we have another 2.0 earthquake. Before that earthquake, we have some tremors, and after that, we have that triangle going out. That triangle going out to the right is a secondary wave. A secondary wave from that 2.0. It goes out for about 20 to 30 seconds. Then, well, it actually goes out a lot further than that. The secondary wave goes out here. I just looked at this more closely. It goes out here about 2 minutes long. So this earthquake, this seismogram, may have been turned down as well. For that secondary wave to last 2 minutes, this may have been a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake. Then, after that, on the 9 a.m. line. On the left it says 9 a.m. Over here towards this area, this is now about 9:11 a.m. We have another earthquake, probably a 2.2, 2.3 earthquake this time. Again, you see tremor build up before that earthquake, and you see the secondary wave going out about 10 seconds. So this is probably a 2.3. Then you see some more minor tremors here, don't you? Then we come down here to the 12:15 line on the far left. About 12:18 p.m. today. Okay? If, and this is a big if this was really maybe a 2.3, 2.5 magnitude earthquake, maybe it would not have lasted so long. You see the top and the bottom of this earthquake being cut off. You see the top and the bottom of this earthquake being cut off. What are causing all of these earthquakes? Magma. Each individual line here is 15 minutes long, starting yesterday just after 3:30 p.m. yesterday afternoon. Every line represents a 15-minute time period. So what you're seeing here are what appear to be thin lines. Thin lines of magma pulse signals. Magma PULSE signals. Okay? They get thinner, they get thicker. They get thinner again and get thicker again. Those are called magma pulse signals. In this case, with this particular earthquake, you slightly see a slight increase in the amount of magma before this earthquake. A slight increase. Then we have this earthquake. The bottom and the top have been cut off, so it's very apparent that they do not want us to know how strong this quake was. This earthquake was felt over a wide area, from Castaic down to Lompoc and Santa Barbara, because I'm going to show you some Santa Barbara seismograms here. It was felt over a wide area, guys. This earthquake was a lot larger than they're saying, and it lasted a lot longer than those other seismograms show us. Okay? This is probably a 4.0 earthquake out at Ridgecrest. Those of you that live out here at Ridgecrest, China Lake, you felt this afternoon. Okay? And I'm talking to one of our people over on our Facebook Messenger earthquake chats. There's a gal named Callie, or she goes by Callie. Folks, this is a good sized earthquake. Notice how it fans out to the right. The secondary quake goes out about 3 to 4 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes out. The secondary quake lasted 4 minutes. This was at least a 4.5 earthquake at China Lake Ridgecrest volcano. Okay? Aren't you kind of glad that I put 2 and 2 together and figured out what actually happened here at China Lake Ridgecrest area? Before, like I said, we thought this was a magma channel. And then, what did we see? The magma churn signal. That tipped it off as being a volcano. So we had a 4 at least a 4.0, 4.5 earthquake out here at Ridgecrest, China Lake. Isn't that interesting? All this time, they haven't showed it. They happen to not show us exactly what is going on. Here is Santa Barbara. This is a Santa Barbara seismograph. This is the first time that we have seen any activity in Santa Barbara. This seismograph recorded the earthquake over at Ridgecrest, China Lake. Okay, Santa Barbara. Let me show you something else. Santa Clara, look at this. Same difference here. The seismograph recorded this. Santa Clara is a little bit closer to Santa Barbara. And you're seeing more definition here, but again, they're not showing us the entire earthquake. They're only showing us what they want us to see. Okay? But again, it's not the only one. Let's go out here. This is Santa Maria, north of Santa Barbara. Look at this. Same time period, guys. But again, they're not showing the entire earthquake. It's affected this seismograph just a little bit different. Here it's showing a 2.5. 2.5 unit, 2.8. This is what happens the further away you get from the original epicenter of the earthquake. Okay? This is Santa Barbara Fire Station 15 or 18. Santa Barbara Fire Station 18. Notice up here earlier than that earthquake. Okay? This happened after 9:17 this morning. That, folks, is a lot of energy there. It started off at nothing more than a microquake, and over a 3-minute time period, it grew to be a 1.3 tremor. 1.2, 1.3 tremor. Then, this afternoon, after 12:17 p.m. This is what the seismograph recorded at Fire Station 18 in Santa Barbara. Now I think I've got Station 51 here as well. No, I don't think it's Station 51 in Los Angeles. Okay, where did it go? I'll be darned. They're not letting me have Station 51 apparently. It's not here. There's also a Fire Station 51 in Santa Barbara, and it's also showing this exact quake in Santa Barbara. Okay? Now, we keep having 4.0s, 4.2s, 4.3s in Indonesia. We just had another one at Kapuan, Indonesia, a 4.3 moderate earthquake. Okay? Let's go out to the University of Southern California, Los Angeles. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Nothing but tremors. They get larger in places, but nothing but tremors. For the most part, just 1.0, 1.2, 1.3 tremors. They get up to about 1.3, 1.4 here at times. University of Southern California, Los Angeles. Let's go over here and show you I want to show you Santa Monica Field. This is further north from Los Angeles, but Santa Monica. Look at this. Now, most of this is just 1.01, 1.0, 1.2, and occasionally a 1.3 trimmer. Okay? Where is this at? Santa Monica. Okay? This is a different earthquake than we saw at Santa Monica or Santa Clara or anywhere else. Santa Barbara, anywhere. This is a little bit different earthquake. This is actually in Santa Monica. This happened it started happening actually. We had tremor activity that started even before 12:15. We've had constant tremor activity since early this morning. But at 12:18 we have some tremors, don't we? Those tremors nearly last a full minute. Then we go into a 2.0 earthquake. We have several lines that go straight up in the air. You can see those. 2.0 earthquake at Santa Monica. 2.0 earthquake in Santa Monica. Isn't that interesting? Does that take the cake or what? I've shown you Moore Park, I've shown you Pardee. How about Rio Hondo? Rio Hondo is getting to the point where you can't see any white of the paper between each of those lines. That's a lot of tremor activity. Rio Hondo. I do not see any full-blown earthquakes, nor small ones or minor ones. These are just tremors. Rio Hondo. Now let's continue. There's one more place I want to visit near Los Angeles. Okay? This is Walnut La Puente. This also is a volcano. Walnut La Puente is a very exclusive area to live. Look at the earthquakes here. We're seeing 3.0, 3.5, even pushing 4.0 earthquakes here in Walnut La Puente. This looks like Bombay Beach down at the Salton Sea, doesn't it? Look at all these earthquakes powered by magma down inside this volcano. There's a ton of tremors here, right? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There actually is some magma being shown here too. But heaven forbid that they were accurate at showing the magma, because they're not really showing it. It's almost a zigzag line. They don't want to show exactly what's going on here. But you can see the earthquakes as a result of the magma here at Walnut La Puente. That's a volcano. Okay? That is huge. That's huge. I love seeing my buddy Al Sanchez here. That makes my heart go pitter-patter. Al Sanchez is a very close friend of mine. A really cool guy. Okay? But you see what's going on here. Okay? You see what's happening. Let's drop down to San Diego. I want to show you earthquakes in San Diego. The first one I want to show you is in San Diego City. This is in Mission Valley, San Diego. This seismograph is at the San Diego Gas and Electric Building just north of Mission Valley. Look at that. Tremors all over the place, guys. Tremors all over the seismograph. What is causing that? Folks, there's a fault that comes off of the Newport-Inglewood fault of Los Angeles. It comes out of Los Angeles and it goes into San Diego County. It comes into land around Encinitas, North San Diego County. It continues on land until it gets down into downtown San Diego City. Then it goes out into San Diego Harbor. Okay? It's a great little fault, capable of a 7.0 earthquake. And we're seeing all kinds of tremors here. All kinds of tremors. All kinds of tremors. This is the first time we've seen a buildup of seismic energy here. Every once in a while we would see tremors here, but nothing like we have today. Okay? That fault line coming out of Los Angeles are causing all of these tremors here. They're not earthquakes, they're nothing but tremors. But wait, folks, there's more. There's definitely more to show you than that. I want to go out to East San Diego County, just east of El Cajon. This is the Pechanga Casino, east of El Cajon, California. It's Pechanga Casino. This is very typically, but I think what we have here is even more minor tremors than we would normally see here at Pechanga Casino. That's an awful lot of tremors at Pechanga Casino. Okay? Then I want to go further out east. Again, San Diego County. Okay? We're going to go over to there's an elementary school in South San Diego County called Campo Elementary School. Look what we're seeing here. Both Pechanga and Campo Elementary School, it's the Elsinore fault that's causing these tremors. Here at Campo Elementary, we have a few more tremors than we even saw at Pechanga. Larger tremors, such as this one after 7 o'clock this morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes after 7 this morning, we had a 1.3, 1.4 tremor. And we had quite a few other tremors throughout the day today. Okay? This is southeast San Diego County. I believe I have one more. I'm just looking for it right now. Here it is. This is at the top of the mountains that stretch between the Imperial Valley and San Diego. This is a high school, Cuyamaca High School in East San Diego County. The top of the mountains in Cuyamaca State Park, near Cuyamaca State Park. Cuyamaca High School. Look what we're seeing. Again, this is just prior to 12:18 p.m. We're still seeing that earthquake we had way over north of there at Ridgecrest, China Lake. The same earthquake. Again, the seismogram, on the seismogram here, the earthquake tops have been cut off. We're also not showing as much activity here. Okay? We're still showing activity, but not as much that originally happened up at Ridgecrest, China Lake. This is at the top of the mountains, the Chocolate Mountains. There's a mountain range that runs from the Mexican border all the way north to Oregon. This is part of that mountain range. In this case, this is the Chocolate Mountains. You may have seen footage of the F-14s and F-16s running out of NES Miramar in 1985 when they filmed Top Gun. It was the Cuyamaca Brown Chocolate Mountains. Okay? But you're seeing that same earthquake here. Okay? I just wanted to show you that so you know what's going on. Now we're going to drop into the Imperial Valley. I want to show you what's going on here. And this is kind of important. No, this is a lot important. This is very important. Guys, what is going on here is the USGS attempt coupled with Caltech. There I did, I split it out. The USGS attempt with Caltech at not showing us seismic activity. This is the North Shore, the northeast side of the Salton Sea. Again, this is more tremor activity than we've seen here at the Salton Sea in quite some time. This is continuous tremors. Here at the North Shore, we usually see an occasional 2 or 3 minute long tremor, and then that's it. We're seeing constant tremor up here at the northeast side of the Salton Sea at North Shore Salton Sea. Okay? That is a lot of activity. A ton of activity. Now, folks, I'm going to go... Where do I want to go from here? I want to show you now the western side of the Salton Sea over at Salton City. This is Salton City on the western side of the Salton Sea. This is typical of what we see here at the Salton City. Just minor tremors, 1.0, 1.2, 1.3 tremors, and that's what we have here. Nothing more than that. This is a Salton City. In the center, actually not even quite the center. It's on the northwest side of the Salton Sea. On the west side of the Salton Sea. It's called Salton City. It's not quite halfway down going south on the Salton Sea. It's just on the north end of it. Okay? Salton City. Now I'm going to go over to the east side of the Salton Sea. It's called Bombay Beach. Again, this is where the San Andreas Fault goes. It follows the eastern side of the Salton Sea. At Bombay Beach, the San Andreas Fault goes underneath the water of the Salton Sea. Of course it does, because the water is on top of the land, isn't it? Yeah. This is where we see the San Andreas Fault duck under the water. Before it even gets to this point, as soon as the San Andreas Fault reaches the Imperial Valley, they renamed it the Imperial Fault. The San Andreas and the Imperial Fault are both correct names here. This is the activity at Bombay Beach. What are we seeing here? Number one, we're seeing large earthquakes, aren't we? None of these earthquakes are over 4.0. They're getting close to it, but they're not over 4.0. Notice in a lot of cases that the agency is cut off the top and the bottom of the earthquake signature. So all they're showing us is like a 3.0 earthquake. Folks, these are longer earthquakes than that. I would dare say these are 4.0, 4.5 earthquakes. Why? Look at the length of time that the earth is shaking here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 minutes. 6 minutes of almost constant shaking here. And I'm talking about that earthquake that hit after about 8:20 a.m. this morning on that red line. The upper red line there, okay, the upper one happened at 5:27 a.m. this morning. Also, the top and the bottom of that one are cut off. It went off the paper on the top and cut off on the bottom. We see quite a few of these signatures appearing here. There are a lot stronger earthquakes than they're telling us, and they're happening frequently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 earthquakes. 9 earthquakes. And there's a bunch of tremors here. Okay? 9 good-sized earthquakes, and many of those being at least 4.0, 4.5, maybe larger than that. That is a lot of activity over at the Salton Sea, isn't it? We're not done. We're not done. Let's go over to the northwest corner of the Salton Sea. This is Westmoreland, just on the west-southwest side of the Salton Sea. Okay? Westmoreland. These are all tremors here. We don't even have microquakes here or anything larger than a minor tremor here. That's it. No earthquakes at all. Now, I'm going to take you over to El Centro Naval Air Station. Look at here. The earthquakes here continue. Yes, we have a lot of tremors here, but we're also having 3.0 earthquakes here as well. They only last a few seconds, but we have quite a few 3.0 earthquakes happening here at Naval Air Station El Centro, California. This is where Juanito is. Those of you that have seen Juanito in this chat on our program, this is where he lives, is El Centro, California. Okay? I've got a couple more seismograms to show you here. let's go east. I want to show you Calipatria next. Calipatria is just south of the Salton Sea, where the Salton Sea stops, and the southern side of the Salton Sea tends to be east to west. This is maybe a mile west of the eastern side of the Salton Sea and just south of the Salton Sea itself. Calipatria, California. This is a this is a USGS seismograph. Look what we have here. This seismogram started at 4 p.m. yesterday. All we have here are a bunch of tremors and minor earthquakes. 2.0 earthquakes, every last one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 2.0 earthquakes and a lot of tremors. Okay? Total maybe 20, 25 earthquakes here. Guess what they do just after midnight, just after 1 a.m. this morning? They turn the seismograph off. They turn the seismograph off until just after 6:30 this morning. Why? Why are they doing this? What happened between 1 a.m. and 6:30 to turn it off? Why? If anybody is down here in the Imperial Valley, will they please tell me what happened here today? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. After 6:31 a.m. this morning, they turn it back on. And we record close to 100 earthquakes right here. Close to 100 earthquakes right here. We see 2.0s here, we see 2.5 earthquakes. And, not to be outdone, just after 1:45 this afternoon. This is almost 2 p.m. this afternoon. About 1:58 p.m. this afternoon, we had an earthquake, and it lasted a full minute. You see the red lines here. The red lines here are computer driven to get the seismologist's attention to tell him, hey, look at this. Well, down here, after 2:58 p.m. this afternoon, we just happened to have a good-sized earthquake, and they cut it off. And they cut it off. The top of it's been cut off, and then there's blue below that. Okay? The blue below that tells us that there's another tremor that happened. And it covered up that earthquake. Folks, this is probably at least a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake. That earthquake today here at Calipatria was at least a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake. Again, they have no business, and this is a USGS seismograph. They had no business doing that. They had no business turning the seismograph off. No business at all. They should never have been done. What are they hiding? What are they hiding, and why? What are they cotton picking, hiding? Inquiring minds want to know. Between Calipatria and Westmoreland. There's another town just south of Westmoreland. It's called the town of Imperial. The town of Imperial. Look what we have here. Look what we have here, guys. Look at all these earthquakes here. Look at all these earthquakes here. For a while, all we have is tremors. Then down on this red line, the red line is 8:15 a.m. this morning. Part of it is covered up by the blue line after that, which was 8:30 a.m. this morning. The top and the bottom of this has been cut off. I can already tell that. You can tell it too. In Imperial, we may have had a 3.0 earthquake. At Imperial, we may have a 3.0 earthquake that happened at about 8:01 a.m. this morning. Prior to that, it looks to be a bunch of tremors. And those tremors actually started after 8 a.m. this morning on the line that's just above it in black. Okay? Then on the line below that in blue at 8:30, the tremors started long before these earthquakes here, and now we have at least 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes. After that, after 8:30 this morning. Then, not to be outdone, at 13:30 on the blue line, which is 1:30 this afternoon on the blue line down here, we have some more earthquakes. This was a little less strenuous. Probably 2.5 earthquakes, 2.8 earthquakes here on that blue line. So we've had some larger earthquakes down here in the Imperial Valley, haven't we? Yeah, I think we have. One more place to stop here in the Imperial Valley. The place I'm going to is Holtville. Holtville. This is about 30 miles south of the Salton Sea in Holtville. Look what we see here. For the most part, tremors. For the most part, tremors. However, look at that top blue line. That top blue line would be 5:30 this morning. Over here, it's now 5:40 a.m. this morning. This appears to be 2.8 earthquake. A 2.8 earthquake here in Holtville. We have a bunch of tremors here, don't we? A ton of tremors all over. Then at 12, let's see, let me get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 12:04 this afternoon. It appears we have a 2.5, 2.6 earthquake. We can see the black line going up, can't we? We can see the black line going down, but it's covered by other seismic activity. This tells me we've had some earthquakes here. We may have had quite a few earthquakes here. Earthquakes all over the Imperial Valley here, haven't we? Yeah, I think so. But guess what? Let me show you something else. Again, let's go back down here to the USGS map. I want to show you something very interesting here. Look at this. This is the Salton Sea. West of the Salton Sea, this is Ocotillo Wells. They're showing us a 2.1 minor earthquake at Ocotillo Wells here. This is over just in the foothills of the Chocolate Mountains before they start rising towards San Diego County at the top of the mountain. Ocotillo Wells, a 2.1 earthquake. Further south, this is Heber, 7 miles west-southwest of Heber, California. You can't trust USGS. This is also a 2.3 earthquake. Down here. Okay, 2.3 earthquake down here. Guess what? This is Nyland, California, covered by the Calipatria earthquake seismograph. This is a 1.2 tremor. Can I ask, where are the other tremors and earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley? None of them are being shown. Not one of them. Not even one of them. Here's El Central Naval Air Station where the seismograph is, right there. Over here is El Centro. El Centro. All the way up here, this is the town of Imperial. The town of Imperial. Further north here is Westmoreland. This is Westmoreland, just so you know. Okay? Down here is a small town called Holtville. Holtville, California. This is where the Salton Sea Desert Research Station is located. I don't know exactly where, I've never been there. But this is where Holtville is, where that is located. So now I've kind of shown you exactly what we've had to deal with here. They are hiding earthquakes all over here. And I told you the other day, I told you last week, and I read it right off their own website, that says they hide earthquakes because they may or may not have been able to get the information from other agencies. They're using other agencies as an excuse. Also, they may or may not show 1.0 tremors up to 2.0 earthquakes. Really? What is this one? It's a 1.2 in Nyland. Down here in Imperial, we had some more earthquakes, didn't we? 3.0 earthquakes. Over here at El Central Naval Air Station, we had a bunch of 3s here. They don't show them here. They never have. Over here in El Central, they're not showing any earthquakes here either. They're showing that one earthquake here southwest of Heber, California. They're not showing anything over here in Holtville. Nothing. Isn't that just great? Okay? They're not showing us much of anything at all. Now, folks, I did forget to show you Victorville, where Isaiah's granny lives. Let's first, before we get out of here, show you Victorville. Okay? I think we owe it to Isaiah's granny to see Victorville. Isaiah's granny is a dear friend of ours that I have been talking to and everything. I know quite a bit about her and her family, but I've been talking to her for quite some time, and I asked her a long time ago to be one of our mods here. Let's go over and show you Victorville, California, where Isaiah's granny lives. It's right here. All the seismic activity here is on the San Andreas Fault. There's a bunch of tremors here. She didn't feel them here, but a bunch of tremors here nonetheless. I believe this is a lot more tremors than we've had in Victorville for quite some time. So now you know the story of Southern California. We showed it to you for the last 2 hours time. Okay? Now, what I think I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm going to show you the new Madrid fault tomorrow. I will definitely show you the new Madrid fault tomorrow. First, before we go, let me refresh the this page for the Maui Island News. Okay? I want to show you this information. You deserve to see it. Okay, there we go. Let me show you what the governor had to say. Okay?
Aloha and welcome to this Hawaii News Now special breaking update. We come to you with more devastating news out of Lahaina, Maui, where 53 people are now confirmed dead following those devastating wildfires that ripped through the historic town. You're looking at new video of a flyover that one of our crews went on earlier this morning. Now, this is one of our few first looks, firsthand, at the devastated Lahaina town. Officials have closed off the area and are restricting access. Residents cannot go in. People do not know what is left of their homes. Apologies for the shakiness there, but again, our crew was in a helicopter earlier this morning, and just take a look at some of the destruction. The cars simply left in parking lots as people fled for their lives. We do know that some people even jumped into the water to try and avoid the flames. It's an absolutely horrific sight out there. I'm Dylan Encheta in the Hawaii News Now Digital Center, giving you this latest update. We just learned within the last half hour or so, the death toll has climbed by 17. It was previously 36, but now we have learned that 17 more people are confirmed to be dead. This is a continuing tragedy that we are learning about out of Maui. Communication is still sparse to come by as communication lines and cell towers remain down. I want to go ahead and show you more of the video from that flyover. President Biden has already approved Hawaii's federal disaster declaration, and there are multiple agencies responding. Now, what that does is it frees up some federal funds. It frees up resources to help those on Maui. Of course, we know so many people lost their homes, lost their businesses, and just a true tragedy unfolding there. We've also been closely following Governor Josh Green and want to tell you that he will be holding a news conference coming up at 3:30 this afternoon. We will bring that to you live on air when that happens. To recap a little bit, he has spoken to CNN. However, he has not yet given us an interview as he has toured Lahaina. Our Daryl Huff has been trying to get a hold of him all day, but sounds like the first time we are going to hear from him today will be at 3:30 at that news conference. A lot of people have also been asking about donations and how to help the people of Maui. We have this information right here. The first bullet says drop-offs until 2 p.m. That is for this collection site here. There was a group of people on the vessel Kahana that collected so many donations from the community here on Oahu, and they took all of these supplies over. They left about 30 minutes ago and took this down over to Maui. And so the outpouring of aloha is there. We are keeping a close eye on our donation efforts there. We know so many people need help. They don't have the basic necessities. We've heard from so many people in the evacuation points, in the shelters, that simply said, I left with nothing but the clothes on my back. And so these people who have lost everything are really starting brand new here. We're going to go ahead and put up the QR code. If you take a second, if you're watching on a mobile device, you can go ahead and screenshot this. It will take you directly to where you need to be in order to donate to the Salvation Army on the left of your screen and the American Red Cross on the right of your screen. All donations are appreciated. Monetary donations, clothing, food, water. The most in need items, I saw a note from one of our team members, most requested items are baby formula, medicine, chargers, extension cords, power strips, can openers, canned goods, and just simple things like that is what people really need right now. Over on Maui, the War Memorial donation site is collecting those items, and again, they do say that baby formula and baby food, medicine, chargers, extension, power cords, power strips, canned goods, and can openers are among the most requested items. We also know that the brush fires have impacted 4 schools there on Maui, and in fact, one of them, it sounds like, was nearly, if not completely, destroyed. Our Mahealani Richardson gave us a live report earlier at noon in This Is Now with Ashley Nagaoka and myself, and I want to go ahead and play out some of that. She spoke with a clearly emotional...
Okay, you guys have already seen that. Let me go forward here.
A previously recorded report with our Mahealani Richardson in our noon show regarding the latest on DOE schools. We do know that 4 schools are impacted, which means thousands of students. Our officials working the shelter. This is a people locator list. There have been so many links going around online for Ohana and family to try and locate their loved ones. Of course, the cell service is still down, and which is making it nearly impossible to do so. But I'm looking at this list right here. There are over 2,500 entries on this list, and not all of them have been found. There are still many with the red status not located next to their name, and so loved ones are frantically trying to get in touch with their loved ones there on Maui. There is a lot of green on this list. People have been able to check into the shelters and let their loved ones know, I am safe, I am okay, but there is still a significant, outstanding number of people who have not yet been located. If you are trying to get in touch with your loved ones, the American Red Cross has a finder page, a people locator page on their website. We've posted a link to that on our website as well, so you can go ahead and try to contact your loved ones. The phone communication remains severed in West Maui. There are thousands of people who simply don't know what is left of their neighborhood, and these aerial images right here continue to show the destruction there. Once again, we have a press conference with Governor Josh Green, who is on Maui. He cut a personal vacation short to fly to Maui in light of this devastation. That will be happening at 3:30. We will be sure to stream that on our digital platforms, our H&N mobile app, as well as our Facebook page and our streaming platforms. So go ahead and continue to stay in tune with us as we work to bring you the very latest out of Maui and this tragedy that continues to unfold.
Okay, that's the end of that broadcast right there. Folks, it has been a tragedy on Maui. Yes, there have been some wildfires over on the western side of the Big Island as well, but nothing like has happened on Maui. People lost their lives and lost everything. Now, I want to just ask everybody here, if you are on Facebook and you live in Maui, if you are safe, go over to your Facebook page and you can place yourself as safe on Maui. If you have not been able to reach the Red Cross or some other organization there, make sure you place your name on Facebook and say that you're sick and give your location to where you're at. Okay? Please do that. Make your donations to the Salvation Army and also the Red Cross. 1-800-RED Cross. And you saw the QR codes for the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. You can play this video back after we go off the air and pull up those QR codes so you can go there and help out those people on Maui. Before I leave you, one more thing. Okay? My devotional tonight comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 1. This is Paul talking to the Corinthians. Chapter 1, verse 15. Lest any should say that I had baptized in my own name. I baptized unto the household of Stephanas. And besides, I know not whether I baptized any other. For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. The understanding of the prudent. And that's exactly what has happened, and continues to happen even in our own lives. Folks, say a prayer for those people on Maui. Multiple prayers. Keep them in your thoughts, your minds, and in your hearts, and pray for those people. 53 people so far, and I'm sure that number is going to skyrocket in the coming days. Folks, I love each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you. You guys are not just my friends, but you're my family. Please share this video with everybody you know. Tell them we talked about earthquakes in Southern California. We also talked about the death over in Provo, Utah. We also talked about all the earthquakes in Southern California. The earthquakes in Southern California were the majority of our program tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk about New Madrid, and we're also going to talk about emergency preparedness. Things are apparently not prepared over on Maui. We're seeing that. A lot of people lost everything they had. Folks, pray for them. They need our prayers and our help. If you have the ability to help them, please do that. I appreciate each and every one of you here with us this night. May God bless and protect you and give you the things that you need to bless your hearts, bless your minds, and bless your families. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. I will try to cover the governor's speech as soon as we know that he comes on the air live. Have a good night. We'll see you, other than that, tomorrow sometime during the day. God bless you. God be with you until we can meet again. See you soon.